Hello, Jim here. Just want to take a moment at the beginning of this video just to wish all the dads out there a happy Father's Day. Hope you have a really nice and relaxing one. In today's video, I want to talk about what happened on Friday, how this unrest in the Middle East and this Iran-Israel war could potentially have a big impact on the market. So, do I think it will have a big impact? It very well might. It's not 100% guaranteed. What's critical is if other countries get involved or some of our bases get attacked by the Iranians, it could then become a much bigger deal and the headwinds could be significant. The market could potentially hit new lows. Do I think that's going to happen? I don't think so. I believe it may be fairly big headwinds for the next couple of weeks, but then hopefully they will die down and we'll get back to the typical market we've had. I had said in previous videos that I thought we had hit the low back in April. I still think that, but you never know when you have things like this occur. I've been through this a number of times. I remember in 2001, and then also with some different wars like in Afghanistan and Iraq. It definitely can have an impact on the market. Now, that being said, there could be some great opportunities to sell some puts on some great companies or potentially buy some shares if we do again get a major drop. It gives you opportunities to find great names at great prices. You can never completely hit the low, but when you do have a sell off and stocks drop, you do get potential opportunities in the market. I made a trade on Friday with Apple, and I'm looking at several others. I've also closed a number of trades earlier in the week. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. I'm also going to share how I find the stocks that I find. I had a few members ask in the Discord, what do I do? What does my typical day look like? So I'm also going to talk about that, how I start my day and how I really keep this very part-time. I still work, so I'm usually not on the market more than an hour to 2 hours each day. If I meet my goals early on, then I'm off the market. Like last Thursday, I didn't make any trades. So some days I may make three or four, and others I might not make any. So stay tuned. I think what I share will be very helpful to you going forward. So let's jump into it. Okay, now the question from one of my members related to what my day looks like, how I find trades. I typically start my day around 10 a.m. During the crash back in April, I did start earlier, mainly because the market was kind of crazy. So I would jump on at 9:30, but I typically, over the last 4 years, I would start around 10. I'd be on the market maybe an hour, hour and a half, usually till about 11:30, quarter to 12. Then I would get off the market and I would get back on potentially at 2 o'clock and could be on from 2 to 4. Now, if I found a trade or two in the morning and things worked out and I made some pretty good premium, I might not get back on in the afternoon. And you might ask, well, why do I get off between like 11:30 and 2? It's because a lot of the market makers, a lot of the big brokers, traders take lunches and they get off the market. So it does slow down a bit. And I just find it works well for me. So during that time period, I'll do other things before the market or before 10 a.m. Again, I'll do other things. I'll do some of my consulting work. I may make some phone calls. I may do a little bit of testing or coding. And then I set goals. I tell people to set goals. My goals are 8,000 on a monthly basis. So that translates to 2,000 a week or 400 a day. If I make 400 or 500 in that morning, then I'm done for the day in a lot of cases. And I try to stick to that. I don't want to do too much trading. I like to reach my goal. You might say, well, that's wasteful. Why don't you trade more and try to make more? I do believe there's a greed and almost a gambling kind of feel to trading. So I really do limit how much trading I do. So again, if I make that goal, say I make the weekly goal, like last week, I made the weekly goal, I think by Wednesday or Thursday. And I wasn't in a hurry to make more trades. Thursday, I didn't make any trades. And then Friday, I did make one trade, mainly because the market dropped so much. And I made a trade on Apple. I'll share with you that trade at the end of this video. Because Apple, you can now trade puts on it at a level I really like, especially for Apple. Now, I typically will open this planning worksheet. I share this with my membership. I actually shared it earlier this morning. I'll look at, what trades I need to worry about. The gray I've already rolled, so these trades I've already done. So my next one is STX. So I would look at that. Can I roll it? What can I do with it? This is one of those situations where a covered call clipped my wings. It shot up too much. I sold a covered call about $6 above my cost basis, but I didn't think within like 6 months, or not even 6 months, a couple of months, it would shoot up that much. It's currently 127, so it went from like 67 to 127, a little bit crazy. And that's something I am going to talk about in a future video. I'm sharing with my membership later this week a new checklist. I have a checklist for covered calls, but this is going to be like a filter. It's not just how to do a covered call, but should you do a covered call? Should you buy the long call? Should you look at doing it in a different way? It's going to be a filter where you check off certain things and then you can determine what's the best thing to do. In a lot of cases, especially with momentum plays, you might not want to make a covered call at all because the appreciation can be huge. So I'll go through this. I'll identify any particular stocks or trades that I need to make right away. Then I'll come over to favorites. I do update this. I update the pricing and I kind of go through it. The ones that are green, I believe are good prices. So Zoom is a good price. PayPal is a good price. XYZ, which is Block. I like Block, but they got hammered earnings wise. I don't really like what Dorsey's doing. So that's why I have them color coded red, but I do own some. And I do have a cash or a vertical put credit spread on them right at 60. So pretty close to being in the money. It dropped pretty big on Friday. Cisco's not too pricey, but it's something to keep in mind. It's not too pricey or underpriced. eBay, in my mind, is a little bit pricey now. I got used to trading eBay at like 40 or 50, and it's gone up quite a bit. It's turned into a good investment. AMD, I still think is a good investment. So I'll go through these. I won't go through each and every one of them, but I do provide these. I do update them on a weekly basis. Just want to be sure my members know that. But these are all the companies I like. They're also all I've traded in. NetApp, Palantir. Palantir is yellow. It's a lot like Seagate. It's gone up a huge amount. I also traded calls in the teens. I think I was selling and I think I bought a leap around 25 and it just shot through the roof. So another one where I could have done a lot better if I had owned the shares. PG, ODFL, NVIDIA, Aflac, Applied Materials, Qualcomm. So a lot of really good companies. And this is kind of I condensed my favorites of all my different watch lists. So I'll go through this. Is there any opportunities here? If I still don't find any, then a lot of times I'll jump over here to Seeking Alpha. I'm currently in my portfolio. If the market's down, I'll typically sort by change. I'll look to see who's way up. I'll look to see who's way down, and do I potentially want to make a trade on them. I'll also sort by return on capital. Who are the best of the best companies? And you can see NVIDIA, NVO, Apple, Bluebird. A lot of you might wonder, well, Bluebird shouldn't be there. But again, they have really good return on capital. I believe it's 34. The return on assets is nearly 20%, and return on equity 73. So I wheel that trade. Some of you probably realize that. So I'll go through this. I'll also sort by quant rating. And, again, I'll look to see, is there anything I want to make a trade on? Then a lot of times I'll also do price. If are there any $10 to $15 companies? I try to stay above $11 when I trade companies. I also only trade companies that are profitable. I don't trade companies. Now I will add them to my watch list. I've done that with a number of names, and over time they'll be something I trade in. I like SoFi. I believe that was the case. I had a lot of members saying, well, why don't you trade SoFi? I'm like, well, it's not making money. It's one of the guidelines. Now you might say, well, you trade Mara. Mara's my exception. It's my play for Bitcoin. I'm trying to learn about Bitcoin, so I will trade Mara. And it's weird. It shows like they're not profitable and they're not making money at times, but it's because they have so much Bitcoin. They produce a lot of Bitcoin and they keep it. Their they have their value of their Bitcoin that they own is comparable to their market value right now. Actually, maybe even a little higher than their market value. So I'll use this. If I don't find something here, then I'll come over to bar charts. I'll come over to my favorite place to go is most active options. And then I'll sort by main view, and it'll just sort it by who has the most number of options volume. And if you're a premium member, I'm an affiliate of both of these, but I also pay for them. If you're a member or you pay for it, you're in the program, or you're paying for the premium, you get a full list. If it's the free version, I think you get the top 25. But a lot of times I can look, see who's down. I can also make determinations. Who might I want to make a trade on? A lot of the same names. Here's Mara, here's Super Microcomputer, SMCI, GameStop. I don't typically or have never traded GameStop. Meta, I haven't traded Meta. Um, Altria Group, I have traded them before. Oracle, I've traded. Palantir, I've traded. Apple, I've traded. Nvidia, Tesla, I've also traded, but not recently. And then another step I like to take is I set up a screener and I'll make modifications to it. So it would need, here's the actual screener. So I set up by return on equity, debt to equity, and a bunch of different criteria, and I will manipulate this and then run the results. Here you need to set it to filter view, and then I'll usually sort by bid, and I'll look to see who's got some really good premium today. I see Hims does. I see Robinhood, Quantum. I can't remember the last part of their name. Quantum Technologies, maybe. Kava. So, and I'll get ideas here. I have made trades here. A lot of times I will click on it, like Hims I've traded before. It's gotten a little bit pricier than I like, but if it comes down a bit more, it might be to a point I will trade it again. So I'll get a lot of ideas with this too. And again, once I find a trade and I make it, I'll share it with my community. I'll put it both in Patreon and Discord. So I'll show you that now. I'll show you how I did that with Apple. So stay tuned. Let's jump into that next section. Okay, now this is my trade in Apple. This is again in my planning worksheet. And you can see it was in my Fidelity IRA. I will mark it here. I'll put the strikes. I'll also put the delta. It was a 16, almost a 17 delta. I'll put what the current price is. I'll show, make sure I stay at the right one. So if we come over here to the right, so I'll put the amount of premium, 241.28. This is the required capital. It's the spread, 2,000 minus the 241.28, and then the ROI is just the premium divided by the required capital adjusted for the year. And I put it 80% at 79, 80%. I use this more so I can rank the trades, so I can compare one vertical put credit spread against another one. I will not compare to like a cash secured put because the numbers would definitely be lower. Same thing with a covered call. So I kind of use it to compare covered calls to other covered calls, spreads to other spreads, iron condors, other iron condors. It's it's more about that, trying to identify, and partly to try to identify a really good trade, and ROI would be part of that. So if it's an outstandingly good trade, then maybe you put more contracts towards it. You take a little bit more risk because it's such a good trade. Now, next, after I enter it there, I'll come over, and this is Patreon. This is what I share with my members. I share the strikes, the trade, a little bit why I like the trade. I will actually do a screenshot directly from either Fidelity or Schwab. Those are the two main brokerages that I use. Um, and then I will also come over here. This is my Discord, and I have a trading area that I'll put it in. So if I look at the Uncle Jim trades, I'll put it here, the same information. Um, and then I do have other things in my Discord. So my current membership, I used to have one that only got you Patreon. Now everyone has to also get into Discord, mainly because there's so much stuff in Discord and I'm adding more to it. I am going to limit how many people can join. I don't want it to become too cluttered and too much, but I have a welcome, announcements, rules, coaching, group meetings, planning worksheets, watch lists. So these are some of the watch lists that I've set up. Then I have brokerages. Now, if you're a member and you're new to this, just remember you can scroll all the way back. Some of these have tons of information. So I have Fidelity, Schwab, Robinhood, Vanguard, Tasty Trade. I might want to look at adding more like Webull and some of the other ones as people are interested. This is general discussions. Then I have advanced discussions. And I will critique, I will tell people, you know, if you're looking at someone's trades and I believe they're very risky, I will also talk about that. I have a section for risky trades, a section for winning trades. And I do police it to a certain degree. I just don't want people getting in over their heads. I always tell any of the members, if you're going to make trades or you're going to copy someone's trade, ask questions, understand what you're getting into. Don't blindly follow people. But I have people doing zero DTE trades and also sharing articles and trying to learn how to do it the right way. I also have, this is trade alerts, no discussion. The idea is, and you can see some people are having discussions in there, but the idea is to primarily put your trade in here, and you'll see people copying each other's trades to a certain degree, or copying my trade. Like this cart is one of the trades I did. If you watched my last video, you know a little bit about cart. Wheel trades, this is where I post about my specific wheel trades and my spreadsheets. If you've not watched any of those videos, it's it's a real simple strategy. One of them, the 10K, just has two stocks that I trade on a monthly basis. And with a $10,000 account, you can make between 30-40% on a yearly basis, if not even better. And that's with not taking a lot of risk. Again, I'm very risk averse. I was an income investor many, many years before I ever traded options. And I traded covered calls for 12 years and only on Coca-Cola. Um, so then I have small account trades. Some people have very small accounts. And so I ask people to post in that area. I also have that in the Patreon. I have similar collections in the Patreon. Here is for more in-depth discussions about trades. Um, and at times, like I said, if it's getting where they're using a strategy or something that's too complex, I will have them move it over to um, risky trades. There's also a risky trade. Where is it? Winning trades, advanced discussions. There's also a risky trade. Small accounts, dividend stocks, crypto. For some reason, I can't find it right now. I don't think I removed it, but I'll have to find that at a different time. I also have learning, getting started, a lot of basic questions, but there's a lot here. So if you're a new member, you go back and look at some of the previous questions. There's some really good discussions. Checklists. These are the checklists I talked about. Here's my covered call checklist. Here's my cash secured put checklist. And I'll keep adding to these. Questions about taxes, some good videos. And also I share my experience with taxes. I've had an S Corp for many years and I've been able to handle taxes pretty well. I use TurboTaxes and I do my own taxes, not even for both my S Corps or my S Corp and my LLC. And then trading is a biz. If you want to set up an S Corp or an LLC to trade, kind of talks about what entity you might want to use. And then more learning materials. And again, tons of information here. And in economic discussions, I've had people get a little nutty at times. So if things get a little bit out of hand or disagreements occur, I again will make an announcement, or I'll make a comment. But there's a lot of stuff going on in the economy, and the news doesn't always share it. So that's what this pretty much looks like. Now, let's jump into a quick look at Apple and why I decided to trade them. And I believe I was just in there. So we'll look at Apple real quick. So they've dropped quite a bit recently. They're at 196, but I was able to put a trade on in the 175 range. So if you come out and you look at options, and I'll also do this on Barchart, I can come down, currently I'm doing August trades, and I'll come down and I'll look, and I really like them around 175. So that's at 175, it's this right side that's the put. So you can see it's still a lot of premium. You could go to 170 and do like a 170, 160, or just do a cash secured put. I do like how Barchart does this a little bit better. So if I do AAPL and I look, we can look at the Bollinger Band just out of curiosity. It's right here, and 175 is down here towards the bottom of the band. RSI is relatively low for Apple. Um, so I think it's a good opportunity to trade it right now. And like I said, I did that trade on Friday that I just showed you. But here, if we go out to, and 815 is monthly, and it's literally 62 days. By tomorrow, it'll be 61 days. So if I like to do a round of 15, so anywhere from 175 to 170. I would sell a vertical put credit spread. Then I would typically go $10 out, and I would do potentially the 160. So that's right around $100, $102, and that's what I like to see. Now, if you take a little more risk and go 175, which is the one I did the 175 and 165. It brought in closer to 260, 280, something like that. Now, if you just did it as a cash secured put, it would bring in between 319 and 320. And that's another nice thing about Apple or Google or any of these companies that have huge amounts of options premium and options volume. You get very small. Uh, there's a small amount between the bid and the ask. So a lot of times when I do the trades, I will do it at the ask. So if I was looking at a 175 cash secured put, I would start at the ask, and if it doesn't go through, then I might replace it once or twice. But I've been really shocked recently. I've done some even above the ask, and it's gone through. Not in Apple, but I believe that might have happened with Marvel or one of the other recent trades that I did. So that's what I wanted to share with you guys. I wanted to kind of give you a feel for what my day looked like, and what, and also answer this question from one of the members. Let me know what you think. What stocks are you looking at, especially with the fact that we might have a pretty rough market at the beginning of the week or all week, and there may be some really good buying opportunities. Well, what are you looking at? What stocks do you really like? Please leave a comment. I typically will answer the comments within 24 or 48 hours. And again, to all the dads out there, hope you have a wonderful Father's Day. And again, thanks for watching.